Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back here to Behind the Screens. You are hanging out here with me, Mr-Brothgar, and I want to be talking about a little bit of what I've been doing here with Adventure Capitalist and some of the things I have learned about it. But before then, let me show you what's been going on here in my everyday life. Yeah. If you guys remember, in that last episode I showed you, or the last time I was actually vlogging, I don't know about episodes, but yeah, essentially the last time I was vlogging, I had a sledgehammer and I was trying to break up this concrete that was around where this pool was right here. Well, today my dad and I actually rented a jackhammer, and I was jackhammering all the way around. So I started back here where we kind of stopped after trying to do it with a sledgehammer. And this stuff went all real quick because it's right around 4 or 5 inches, which is pretty decent for, you know, the mighty electric jackhammer I was able to buy. Well, not buy, but rent. Which actually wasn't bad. It only cost me like 70 bucks. And when you consider the amount of work I saved here doing this all in a day, yeah, it was huge. It was amazing. Absolutely worth the purchase, making that rent happen. But yeah, I ended up working all the way around here. And then, man, this is when stuff got hard. I mean, you can see just how thick, like that piece right there, that's around 7-8 inches. And that was even hard for the jackhammer to break through. It took a fair amount of time just to break through that. But I ended up running this whole entire thing here. We did it in the afternoon, which is pretty, I would say, pretty good and pretty productive. But all in all, I am so sore. Like my shoulders and my arms and stuff like that from holding onto that jackhammer. The vibrations weren't bad. That's one thing that people always talk about when they're talking about jackhammers. They think you're gonna vibrate your brain out. Well, you do, because your feet are standing on the concrete that you're trying to break up, and all those concussions that are going through that actually end up coming back up through you, so you hear all that noise inside your head and feel it in your body. But that's not the bad part. The bad part is picking that thing up like 1,000 or 2,000 times. Because the thing, sorry, hopefully the air isn't messing you guys up. The thing weighs about 70 pounds, which isn't too terrible picking it up 1 or 2 times. But when you're doing it for 7 hours straight, whew, it was a bit of a workout, but a lot better than trying to do it with the sledgehammer. I'm gonna go inside here just because I think you guys might be getting a little windy on the microphone. But had a beautiful day. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. 70 degrees, overcast, you know, sunny in the afternoon. It was really good, really good. At any rate though, let's talk about Adventure Capitalist. What in the world am I doing with Adventure Capitalist? It seems a little strange. People don't necessarily understand Adventure Capitalist, or maybe some of the reasons of why I'm even doing it, or have done it for this past month. Well, the thought was kind of crazy. My thought was, hey, let's see if I can make a game, upload it every single day, and make it kind of like a mini series that plays, you know, in the background, yeah, every day, and then upload my normal content throughout the week. And I learned some stuff there. I learned a lot of stuff. One, it actually does work out pretty good. If I make a series like Adventure Capitalist, just for example, or any game, that doesn't necessarily matter. It doesn't have to be Adventure Capitalist. But if I can produce it in about an hour's time, so I spent about a half hour recording it, I spent about another half hour or so editing and kind of uploading. It usually does take a little bit more than an hour to make that stuff happen, but I try to shoot for that hour commitment every single day to make those episodes happen. And yes, that is the first thing I actually learned, is that I can actually produce that content, which is pretty cool, because in the past, before the whole Adventure Capitalist thing, I was trying to upload a lot of different games, try to do it 2-3 times a week. If I was really trying, I might be able to get 4, but it ended up taking so much amount of time. So I just needed to try something different. And I gotta admit, I really do like how the whole Adventure Capitalist thing has turned out thus far. I think it's been really good. I think it's also been a little bit more successful than I thought it would have been. But after about a week or so, I kind of learned that there was some disconnect to what I was doing. So that's like the first major thing I learned, was the amount of disconnect between the content I was creating and you guys in the audience, as far as commenting on stuff that wasn't happening in real time. When it comes to a daily series, it almost seems like in this case, when I was trying to tie in comments that you guys were making and stuff like that, which was another thing I really learned. That interaction is so incredibly important and just really has made the series throughout as we have progressed, you know, through the episodes. But initially, not doing that stuff in real time was having a lot of negative effects on the comments, because people would comment and then I would reply to it 2 episodes later, and that didn't make any sense. The connection wasn't there. It was kind of like live streaming, but the person is an hour behind what in the world's going on. So maybe you're watching me as a live stream on YouTube, but your hour is back because the thing's doing the little DVR thing, which is actually a thing that happens with the live streams. Except for, I've noticed with the last couple of live streams I've done, is that it is only recording 2 hours of actual live stream that it's going to play back. And the reason that is because it's doing 60 frames, and the live streaming is set up to do it at 4 hours is the maximum DVR you could do. But if you double the frames, well, then you cut your time in half. At any rate though, getting that daily series to happen and happen on the same day, I think really helped to make that series possible. Plus, the whole idea is that, yes, I can actually do it, and now there's actually some real interaction. And I think that's where we saw the first big sort of, I don't know, big step in making the Adventure Capitalist a fun series to watch. And besides just the commentary thing. And the whole thing, the other thing about the Adventure Capitalist, and the whole reason I kind of tried to make that game, is I tried to put myself in the bleakest situation just to kind of prove that I could actually make a series that's entertaining on a game that wouldn't necessarily be particularly entertaining. Because one of the concepts we end up running into when it comes to creating videos for YouTube as a person who's doing like a creator, a YouTuber, or whoever me, I know, I'm sorry, the camera's not bright, so if I put the sun behind me, pro tip by the way, if you put the sun behind you, it actually works out a lot better. Who knows? Take photos with the sun behind people. Honestly, doesn't this look better than this? Yeah, see? Pro tip there. Pro tip for the camera peoples. I know I was looking at the camera and not at you. But yeah, so a game like Adventure Capitalist is particularly boring all on its own. So trying to make a series out of that was a real challenge to me. And really, as somebody who tries to be not just somebody who is recording a video and this is what happened, but from the different standpoint of I'm recording the series to actually be entertaining, to involve people with. So it's more close to the name of the actual channel that I try to promote, is Gaming with Brothgar, as more of an entertainment thing as opposed to more of a recurrence of what has actually been happening. So including you guys was a huge step. Taking that step into a game that particularly seems like it would be quite challenging to try to push myself so that I can find ways of making stuff entertaining has also been really productive. The other thing I would say is that as the series was progressing, the whole guessing game thing, brilliant. Sorry, it's just brilliant. I mean, that way I can actually bring in the comments, and now people have a reason to comment on that. And because of that, it has made the entire series, because you guys are now part of the series, making it much more kind of like a live stream, to be honest, that just plays out every 24 hours. So to me, I feel like the Adventure Capitalist has been pretty much, it's kind of been an experiment to me. I mean, not only that, I think it's been a fun game. I've thoroughly enjoyed it thus far, and I don't actually plan to like stop the series. I know some people are kind of weird about it, but I don't necessarily think the Adventure Capitalist, how much longer can it go on for, right? I go off to space, I do a couple of things more, and the end is probably within reach, I would say. Mosquito, yeah. Oh man, now there's guts on my hand. Ew. But anyhow, I would say the whole idea that I started to toy with right now is the initial plan is I set off to make the Adventure Capitalist for 1 month, just to see what in the world would happen. I mean, I did the same sort of thing that I did with Lowdown. I was like, all right, I'll make 50 episodes. This seems to be a thing. I'm enjoying it, so let's make 50 episodes. And then it turned out that it was even cooler than I thought, and I made 70 episodes. That was my next goal. And then I made 80, and now I've made over 90-something episodes of it. And even though I'm not actively running in that game, that's still something I can come back to. And I think I also realized with the community, a lot of people are still enjoying that loadout series. However, there's only so much you can do with that. But that's not really what I'm talking about. The adventure capitalist, the concept that I'm trying to get back to, even though the time's starting to run on long here, was the idea of covering a particular game that I could possibly do within the time frame I effectively have, which is about a 1 hour commitment, 1 to 1.5 hour commitment a night towards one game for a month. So that's kind of a different theory, different concept of how to approach games, saying that I'm going to try to cover a game, one particular game, and include the audience into it every day for a month, or for an allotted amount of time. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting way, different way to look at a series. Another mosquito. By the way, I got blister on my hand a little bit there. I was wearing gloves, man. Whatever. Alright? Got soft hands, man. Soft hands. You gotta have soft hands if you're gonna play Heroes of the Storm and be effective. You can't have calluses all over because it slows you down. You gotta get that micro up. Just kidding. At any rate, guys, that's kind of the concept I had here with the Adventure Capitalist. I'd be really interested to hear, I'm sorry, what you guys have thought of that thus far. I mean, not particularly from the standpoint of, oh, it's a boring game, I don't like to watch it. I mean, yeah, I guess you could put that out there. That is to be expected. But, I don't know, it's kind of an idea. See where it goes from there. I think I've learned a lot about it. And I think in some ways it's taken the channel to the next level. At the same time, there's probably a lot of content that I am missing out on because I just haven't had the time, because I spend that hour every night. But it's not like I always have 4 hours every night to make other content anyhow. I don't know. It's interesting. But one final note is that what I've learned along the way is some sweet new editing tips and tools and sweetness to actually speed that stuff up. So it's been very effective. It's been a great learning experience. At any rate, that's behind the screen here. Broke up a bunch of concrete. Talked about Adventure Capitalist for a little bit. I'd say a pretty successful vlog. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Peace. Brothgar out.